Right guys, what's going on? So I thought I'd do a little update video on the custom fat bike build because someone was commenting yesterday about it. It has hit a bit of a brick wall, and I kind of tend to like doing videos when I've actually made some progress, and I kind of have, but I hadn't on the fat bike, and I really wanted to just do a video with it working, and that was it. I just wanted it working. Long story short, I've got the entire thing built and it still had the same problem it had before we stripped it down and done the custom paint, which was if you pull away on full throttle, it just cuts out. You pull away, give it a little bit of throttle and then build it up and then put the throttle on full, absolutely fine. Unfortunately, I thought with the connections we might solve that when we rebuilt it. It's still there, that issue. So Rob obviously repaired that custom battery it had on it, which I'll show you now. So this was the battery that it came with. Obviously it didn't look like this, it was a bit bashed up, it had dropped off the bike. This isn't a standard battery for a Cyrusher XF800, I think this model is. Looks like somebody's put a 20 or so amp hour battery on there. I thought this may have been the issue because with it cutting out, I was thinking, alright, well if the battery's modified, maybe the BMS got overloaded and somehow just cut the power. You know, or cut the power to the throttle, something along those lines. Couldn't quite figure it out. So, long story short, this is a 48 volt battery, and this bike's 48 as standard. It's just got a bigger range battery on it. So, I've got this whole battery laying about, which is actually Andy's, but I use it quite often for testing things out. And this is a 48 volt, 14 amp hour off the original Andy Kirby Vapor bike, which obviously is a custom fit for the Vapor frame. It won't go on another bike, but for the sake of testing, I took all the old battery off of it, put this on the bike with a load of cable ties and a microfiber cloth not to scratch the paint, and it worked absolutely fine. I'm like, what the hell, why is this, you know, why is this working now? Like, it's a 48 volt battery, that's a 48 volt battery, maybe it's just the BMS in that. So I thought, great, so now I need to either go and find a 48 volt battery. I've either got to order a 48 volt battery now because this must be the culprit, so I've either got to wait for one to come from China or the other side of the world to get a decent quality one. I had risked buying other branded batteries on one or two occasions off eBay, and I had one foul on me within a month of buying it. So I do like to tend to stick to Andy Kirby as a supplier, because I know his suppliers offer good quality stuff every time. So I don't like taking the risk, and I don't want to sell a bike eventually with inferior quality bits. Anyway, so thought I need a 48 volt battery. That's obviously the problem. Do I buy one and wait for it? And then I thought to myself, well, I've got my gold chopper. I've got my custom lowrider chopper bike, like the metallic yellow one. I've been thinking about upgrading the power on that over the winter. Obviously it's a bit of a beach cruiser, I'm not really using it at this time of year, so I kind of sat there scratching my head and thinking, do I take apart a working bike to get this bike working? That has got a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery, which was supplied as a custom build by Andy Kirby supplier for me out in China. It took quite a while to make. I'm pretty sure it's got either Tesla or Panasonic, or I can't even remember. It's got really good quality cells in it, decent quality battery. It took ages to arrive. It cost me a fortune, and that was going to be my long range battery on my lowrider. But I thought, well, if it gets this fat bike built to a high spec, maybe I can do a 52 volt or higher on the lowrider, and you know, over winter I can upgrade the lowriders to give it a bit more power. The lowrider was never about power, but since it's got a custom trailer with it, and I might be towing flipping surfboards, paddleboards or whatever to the beach up big hills in the red hot summer, the controller on that kit wasn't never amazing, if I'm honest. I think that was a 1000 watt fat kit. On something, I mean, the bike is way heavier than most other bikes. Anyway, long story short, I decided, yeah, okay, I'm going to take the battery off the lowrider, put it on this. Bike's going to be finished, it's going to work, it's going to be brilliant, someone's going to get an awesome bike because it's going to have a really high quality battery, blah 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 blah. Put it on the bike, doesn't work again. Well, it does work, but I've got this problem where I put the throttle on, cuts out. So kind of banging my head with it at the moment. It's driving me nuts. I can't find exactly the same controller that this bike comes with. So, you know, I've dived in the workshop today. Light's terrible this time of year. As you can see, I'm running a power bank where you can probably hear the fan. It's not ideal. I've come in here, number one, to give you guys an update what's happening with this bike. I'm not sitting on my laurels with it. I'm just a bit unsure where to go with it. I don't want to be putting a ton more money and time into it because I feel like I've already invested quite a bit. It's had quite a lot of bits done to this bike. I'm going to have a little play around with it, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of update of what is going on. So I'm going to cut to having a little tinker around with it in a bit and see if there's anything we can do. I might just show you, actually, to be honest, you've listened to me talk shit for long enough, at least. Actually looks good, doesn't it? And Rob's done an amazing job with this battery, but I just think it might be a bit too much silver on it and text, you know. I probably want this ammo done in black or just not at all. I think that's the battery off the custom chopper. So that is very, very lightly used, really high quality 48 volt 20 amp hour battery. I think it actually kind of looks better with that on it. It would have been nice if this goes with it. I'm still not 100% sure yet. I mean, do you know what? That was the other thing I'm thinking of doing actually. Why did it work with a vapor battery but not the other two batteries at 20 amp hour? In my head, the amp hour shouldn't really matter too much. So what I'm thinking is putting a multimeter on the vapor battery. My memory card just filled up on the camera, so I just had to reshoot this section. Basically, I'm trying to think, out of 3 48 volt batteries, which all, as far as I know, work and hold charge, why is this bike working with only one of them? The only thing I can think of is that the vapor 48 volt battery wasn't fully charged, and maybe it's the controller that's the issue, and for some reason the controller's cutting out. Highly doubt that the BMS on 2 out of 3 batteries is cutting out. I just can't see that being likely myself. I'm thinking it's probably a controller issue. I'm going to try the voltage on the vapor battery here and now and see whether, what's this, 48 volt battery, so what's that, should be pushing about 54 volts I think, so just fun trying to do this like holding a bloody baby. It's not the safest way of doing it, is it, really? 52. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty charged. I mean, 51.2 volts, so curious what the other one's. 51.2 on that battery. This is fully charged, more or less 54 volts. That's showing 57. What is a 48 volt fully charged? Either way, we've got 51, 54 and 57 volts. So the vapor was charged the least, but not by hugely significant. Mind you saying that, 51. I mean, possibly that slight variation in the voltage could have been the thing that didn't trip out the controller. All I'm trying to think of now is what can I do to get this bike working. I quite like it with this battery, but I'm going to lose a lot of money putting an expensive battery in this when it's got its own battery anyway. So at the moment though, I just want to get the flipping thing working. It's literally driving me nuts. I wasn't going to do a video on it because I just don't want to be waffling on about the problems I'm having, but like, you know, some of you might want to see what actually goes on sometimes because things are never straightforward. But yeah, okay, we're going to have a little play around, see what we can do. This is what I thought might happen. I go to make a video and I can't actually get to a stage of any further completion or fixing it. But I guess that's how it goes sometimes. Like everything's not going to be, everything's not always going to be progress. Sometimes things go wrong, and that's just the nature of real life, I guess. So this is still going to go up as a video. I've tried 2 different controllers. I've tried the Andy Kirby 2000 watt one. The only reason I can't do that, the back wheel on this has got the, I think is it 5 or 7 pin with the hole and the phase cables built into it, and the Andy Kirby one has got the 3 separate phase cables in the yellow block. Possibly I can get a conversion cable to do it, I either need to go back to the drawing board and get a new controller, possibly with a new display, or an adapter cable. I've tried a couple of different controllers I've got down there. I thought I was going to be in luck with one, but it's a very, that's a very new one. I'm not allowed to show you that. That's a, I'm actually product testing for my kind of role with Andy Kirby now is product testing various bits. That's a very new style controller with a brand new type display on it. I just thought I'd try it out because I was going to order a second one in if it worked for this bike, but that's not going to work either. That's got a totally different plug that I've never seen before. Anyway, that's all I'm going to be able to do today. I just need to give you guys an update, really. It's a frustrating game sometimes, it really is. It really is. That's the way it goes. As I said, I'm going to have a look around online. The controller, actually I'll show you. Might as well show you. It's interior, but this is the controller that come off of it. Labels half missing. This is going to be 48 volt, and I think it's marked at 10 amps. I think this is marked at 10 amps, 20 amps max, or something like that. I saw one very similar to this on Amazon for 50 quid, but it said 7 amps, and I'm not going to go lower amp than this is. I'm just not going to bother wasting my money. But this has got the very basic 2 power leads. I don't know if these are HiGo or whatever. They're not HiGo, are they? These 2 round waterproof connectors for the phase cables and display. And that's it. It's a very basic crude controller that's quite small, that fits inside the black box. At the end of the day, I was looking for a controller the same size, the same power, but I'm not too worried whether it goes in that box that originally come with it, you know, on the back, like the black project box. It's not the end of the world. The thing is, I just want this thing working. Just want this thing working and finished, because I've got loads of other projects on the go. Hopefully this bike will be working to a high standard soon and be available for sale once it's... When I'm happy with it, I wouldn't even dream of selling a bike that I'm not 100% happy with. That's why I haven't done a video about this bike so far. So for those of you that are interested in it, I hope you enjoy this little update. That's all I'm going to do on this bike for today's video. Like I said, I'm going to go in, research either other options of controllers, or hopefully there might be a cable that can adapt the connector on the back wheel of this to the controller connections on Andy's bike without messing around and soldering like 7 or 9 little tiny cables, which isn't ideal anyway, because then you can't pull it apart afterwards. So I want to do it properly, and unfortunately it's not quite finished yet. So hopefully there'll be another video. Hope you enjoyed seeing this bike in all its tripping over. Hope you enjoyed seeing this bike in all its half finished glory. Not looking too bad, is it? It looks good, but the annoying thing is I could have jumped on this bike as it was and probably rode it around all day, no problem. But I couldn't call this a finished project if I can't just put the throttle on full without it cutting out. I could easily have got used to just putting the throttle on slowly so it didn't overload it, but it doesn't seem quite right to me. I want it done properly. If anyone's got any links to this size type controller with these connections with at least 20 amps, hit me up in the comments. If I can get hold of something that's not going to take 3+ weeks to arrive from China, that would be a result. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in a video soon.